So Kyrie Irving earned Player of the Week honors. I have to admit, I was stunned to see this. For the first time in 9 years and the fifth time in his career. I couldn't believe it had been that long for somebody who his skill level is incredible.
I think in a way, he's healthy for the first time in 8 years.
This will be his 30th straight game if he plays tonight.
And that's believe. 8 years ago was, I don't even know if he did it, but I remember when he got to 20, they're like, he hasn't done this since 2016. So if you're missing the games that you're missing, it's tough. The other thing, too, is I think Kyrie's a great player, and he has been a great teammate with the Dallas Mavericks, but he's never put out unbelievable numbers. He's put out very good numbers, don't get me wrong, 20-plus points, 7+ assists, but he's never had the crazy numbers, especially somewhat in his era where James Harden and Russell Westbrook at his position were putting up triple-double numbers. Right. And it doesn't mean that those guys are better. I'm not suggesting they're better or worse. But the numbers, when you're going for player of a week or, eventually like a player of the month, you're looking at guys that are putting up 30 points, 12 rebounds, or 25-point, close to triple-double situation. So I guess I don't find it that
okay.
Just because
that's fine.
Just because I look at Giannis, you look at who's played in his era, or LeBron, or early on in his career, Kobe, and you're just like, I think Kyrie's been an all-star. He's been a great player, but he's never been a guy that puts up what you'd consider maybe player of the week or player of the month numbers.
Yeah, and I am right there with you. He's kind of the epitome to me of it's not the volume, it's when. Like when do I do my work? And it's the fourth quarter. Now, obviously, for 70 games, it feels like he doesn't do it because however many injured games he plays. But it's the when do I do it? I do it in the fourth quarter when it matters the most. Y'all need me. That's when I'm getting my points. But to get this is pretty special,
man. And to the fourth quarter thing, he had 19 points in the fourth quarter against the Rockets, most by a Maverick in the fourth quarter this season. Kyrie and Luka combined for 85 points. But maybe the more important thing than that I kind of wanted to dive in on is the way they walked off the court with their arms wrapped around each other in joy. I realize this was a regular season game, but you looked at the excitement right there. You listen to some of the things that those players are saying, including Luka. And one of the things he said, the chemistry is big, and we're on a roll right now. And then I think it's Daniel Gafford who said, you're kind of starstruck watching both of them at the same time. And then Kyrie said this, which I think is tremendous. When the ball's in my hand, I don't see anybody coming to double. And that gives me my time to be aggressive.
That's insane,
Because if you think about it, that's fine. You're going to go double him and lead to a mismatch with who?
Okay, how many, and you, Mike, Reggie, y'all can help me with this. Who are the best individual one-on-one players? Booker, is he one of them? Is KD one of them? Who are the best?
There's a lot now in the NBA. The NBA is such a one-on-one game.
Yeah. But like he's right. Whenever these situations come up, they're not doubling because Luke is there. You have to deal with the fact that he's there, and they're an unselfish team, and that thing matters too. Reggie's talked about this so many times on guys can get stagnant standing in a corner just waiting because they're like, man, I'm never getting this ball.
And we've seen that be the downfall of this very Mavericks team at times.
But Kyrie, it's not like Kyrie is out there and once he gets the ball, he's just like, well, it's Kyrie time. He's like, you know what? If the right play is somebody else, I mean, hell, even Luka on that pass to Exum, that was the right play. And then Exum buried it. Took trust from Luka to say, I know Exum can make this shot. But it also took the right decision. Luka is a very good decision maker when it comes to those things. You just have to be the one. Jason Kidd told us, right? I've already made the decision for you. You just have to execute the problem.
And what a quick decision that was as he went from, well, crap, I guess this is the look we're getting, to wait just a second now.
Yeah.
And then Exum converting. That's
going to be every playoff game down the stretch. Yeah. That will be the defense played against the Dallas Mavericks. Dante Exum, or if Maxi Kleber's on the court, they won't guard him. And they're not going to close out on him. They're not going to try to guard them. They're going to like every time Luka or Kyrie touch the ball, we're going to double team them. And we're going to double team off of Kleba and or Exum, and we are going to allow them to shoot 100 wide open shots in every game. You have the ability to shoot it 100 times wide open with nobody covering you. That is going to be the defense against the Dallas Mavericks. We've seen it so many times with Luka. We haven't seen it with Luka and Kyrie, but we are already experiencing it here in the second half of the season. That's going to be the defense.
And that's one of the things that Kyrie mentioned that he loves. He goes, it gives my teammates and also myself, when Luka gets doubled, opportunities to attack with numbers on our side. Because one of the things he added was defensive adjustments are predictable. First of all, I love having a player on the team that is like, no, your defensive adjustments to us are predictable. So here is how I'm already counter to the adjustment that you're about to make. And that's very encouraging.
Yeah. And I guess I should say this. Teams won't double early in the game because they don't want Luka and Kyrie to get used to it and the teammates to get used to it. They reserve it for later in the game because they don't want them. The more you see it, the easier it will be to beat. It's kind of like a zone. I mean, NBA teams can destroy zones, and that's why teams don't do it for 48 minutes. They're like, we're going to...
zones are for cowards.
We're going to somewhat.
Correct.
Yeah. I think that you kind of throw it in there as a change-up and then back out of it and then be like, can we do another change-up later in the game with it? But if we keep doing it, they're going to expose the weaknesses of it. And then also offensive rebounding is usually very easy, or at least easier against zone defense.
The other thing, too, Kevin, the off-court conversations between Kyrie and Luka have been pretty significant. The story about Luka's birthday party and Kyrie's there closing it down with him. Those are the last two guys there. I'm not saying that you have to be buddy-buddy to be successful, but it helps. It lets you know that you're in something with somebody, that you're doing it together. You're not, hey, I'm going this direction, you're going that direction. Y'all are making decisions because y'all know that's what's best for the group. And I think that pays off. And I really do think that Kyrie probably did have a little or conversation or maybe some suggestive talks of, you got to be the one that's leading the way on the defensive side too. If you do it, all the guys are going to see your effort, and that's going to spill over. He even said it after the game. What they're doing is spilling over to the guys too, but that defensive part of it is becoming such a huge part. I don't know that Kyrie's the greatest defender, but his effort out there is something that turns into fast break points, a pickoff in a lane. He had a couple of really big plays against Houston defensively too that I thought mattered a lot.
Here's the on the court quote, and then we'll go back off the court again. Maxi Kleba said, I never played NBA 2K, so I don't know if there's a self-created player who does stuff like they do. It's incredible. So even he's suggesting, even if you created the two players to work in combination, he sees this as the best possible version of that. And then from the 903, Kyrie and Luka love each other. Kyrie's the perfect fit, and he's the best possible Luka teammate. I do think that Kyrie is an interesting mix thus far, and that embrace might have really hammered it home of, we fit well together, but also you're good enough to run with me.
Yeah,
you know?
I hope you're right. I hope our listeners are right. We won't know until the playoffs.
I agree.
That's the one thing. As much as we're watching, we have playoff. That's it. Like, that's in the NBA. That's the everything. Either you guys are one of the best combinations in the NBA or you're one of the worst in the world. I'll give you an example. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum have won a zillion NBA regular season games together. A zillion.
Yeah.
And then they get to the playoffs, and at times they find themselves with a little bit of a lack of chemistry. Now, they've changed a lot of pieces around the Celtics, and it does look like they're the best team in the NBA. But if it fails again, it doesn't matter how good it looked in the regular season. They're going to say these two guys don't work, and it doesn't work well because in the playoffs, whether they make it all the way to the NBA Finals or not, they have to win the title or it's a bad combination.
One of my really good friends is from New England. He's a hardcore Celtics fan, and he said, I have no idea what this team is going to look like if they don't win the championship. Because you're right. Back to the finals, not good enough. You have to win the championship.
And I do think they are a great combination. I'm not trying to take anything away from Kyrie and Luka, but it's just that if it doesn't work out in the playoffs, there will be questions nationally. There will be questions locally on, is this the right combination?
And then somebody asked, and I think this is fair, are you nervous about matching up in the playoffs in the first round with the Clippers. I'm really not, because of how well the Mavs have been playing. And if you finish in the top 6, gives you a little bit of extra time to hopefully get Lively back.
That's need. That's a real big need.
And if he's back, I feel really good about this team's chances. I'm not saying for sure. I would just have to look at the progression of the playoffs, and I'd automatically take him over OKC or Minnesota. But
is Kawhi back, Leonard? He's not back, is he? Or is he?
I don't believe that he's back. He's missed the last few games.
Yeah, so not yet.
So, I mean, I don't know. And then I hate saying this. I'm going to regret this probably. But, I mean, playoff P stinks in the playoffs.
That is.
Like, he came up with a nickname to almost try to give himself confidence for something that he struggles at. And I'm not saying it's going to be an easy matchup against the Clippers, but I've seen Luka by himself take this thing to 7 games 2 times. He was younger. He's better now than he was, and he has a much better team around him with another star who can take over the game. So if the Mavs play the Clippers, I will pick the Mavs in 6. But if they don't have Lively, I get a little bit worried about them getting more offensive rebounds, finding themselves around the basket a lot easier in the times that Gafford's not in the game.
And Kawhi is out for us as the Suns tonight as well. So as we're getting down to, I think most teams will have about 3 regular season games left after tonight.
So we do need to draft Edey as that third option if Lively gets hurt down the road.
If you want to draft Zach Edey and you can get him with a pick in the second round somehow, then great.
Collect some fouls, score me 10 points.
I support that.
That's all I'm asking for. Kevin, I did have this from StatMuse, the best 5-man lineup since the All-Star break. You discussed this last week, I feel like.
Yes.
Has been Luka, Kyrie, Jones, Jr., Washington, and Gafford. I feel like Jones Jr. and PJ Washington, maybe more PJ right now in my mind. I'm feeling like he's like this Swiss Army knife defensive player. Is that guy that you're like, you can go guard a bunch of different positions?
I think he can guard like maybe 4 different positions.
I feel like it's 4. And there was a point where I felt like they had him on center, but maybe it was a small center there. But having that as another luxury, but one of those essential pieces that as you're trying to build your team that you got to have. And then again, I think this goes to, they come in and Luka and Kyrie are like, we actually have dudes that can play with us. Just like you said about Luka and Kyrie thinking that again about each other. But they, not only that, but they also can play defense. We got to be there to support them so they can support us on the other end too.
Tomorrow's topic will be with PJ Washington going back to Charlotte. Is April PJ Washington what we're going to get in the playoffs?
Okay. That is
so
an interesting question.
You're a possible championship team. You can possibly win it all if PJ Washington keeps playing the way he's played so far in April.
By the way, did you see that the league did rescind the Luka technical foul from the Houston game? So
we're not close to him getting suspended, though, are we?
3 away now. This
is like the least he's been away ever in his career at this point.
The threshold, I believe, for suspension is 16. This was 14, so now he's back to 13. Interesting note.
I feel like he always 15 by the time we're at spring break every year. Right?
I don't know that to be the case, but I understand.
And then we're trying to resend him because we're afraid he's going to get suspended.
You make a very fair point.